friend. Welcome to the Andy Special, a podcast about community with entrepreneurs who create spaces for it to thrive. I'm your host, Ashley Chonka, and I'm excited to share with you the voices of those who do the everyday work of building community. Today with me is Jaz Morse, a queer Black artist, screen printer, and craftivist. We talk about her journey to doing art full-time, her gratitude for community after spending much of her life suspicious of it, and the importance of making a space accessible to different identities. Hi, Jaz. It's great to see you today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi. Yeah, so my name's Jaz, just like how you said. I mainly dabble in visual art. I do a lot of digital visual art now, but I've always been an artist all of my life. Before the lovely pandemic of 2020, I started going to school for dance and communications primarily. And I was primarily a dancer from 15, and I still dance now. It's just like not a heavy medium, but the pandemic definitely made a huge switch over once, everything started to close and dance classes were online. Didn't have that same access to taking dance classes or trying out for any auditions. So I just kind of reverted back to drawing as a comfort. I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, sure, like everybody else, but mine's just amplified so much with the pandemic, and drawing has always been my escape. Within that, I just kind of slowly build on for it to be a career. I just started drawing more on my iPad and painting on my walls when I moved to Philly. I painted a mural, and then it just kind of blossomed into a career. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this in honor of my brother, who taught me how to draw, the one who passed away, and open up this art business or shop or whatever on October 29th when he passed away. So that's it. That's where almost the origin story of why it started, and so much to put into how I got to being full-time. But yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to elaborate that you said brought you to being full-time?
Yeah. So once I started off selling my stuff on Etsy, it would just started being a very part-time thing, or really more part-time pay, because again, this is 2021 and we're still luckily getting that stimulus check. So I still have a safety net, and start off with doing commissions and financially investing into this business, buying a printer and figuring out where I can print stuff for stickers, and buying tote bags, and doing the ugly weights of being on social media, uploading something and the algorithm and figuring out how it changes. And the spring 2021, I started vending in Clark Park. And it was just kind of a natural thing of other artists or makers or creators were kind of unanimously decided, okay, we're just gonna vend here. And it went really well, and a lot of people were really supportive, and I was able to earn a weekly income just off of vending on one Saturday. And I was like, oh, this seems really great. Yeah, it was it was enough to get me by. This is not a crazy amount, I can live by myself now, and I can travel. It was just stable, and I was there's no point for me to go back.
What were you doing before when you were saying you didn't want to go back to a job that you didn't really like?
Oh, great question. So I can't even talk too much about the job because I signed a contract. I was the videographer, so I would film the dancers while they're dancing on stage. And I would do console, which is basically changing the screens or changing, doing little intros. When a dancer walks off stage, have a little intro music to go, extra music to go, so somebody else can come back, just kind of keeping the flow. I love that I was always around dance. And I love that I always felt inspired no matter how tired I was. I knew that it wasn't going to be long-term. And I knew this wasn't my project. I know I always wanted to do something that I created. So that's what I mean by if I'm making a weekly income, then that's around the same of how I made when I was doing my previous job. I might as well just stay with vending and stuff like that.
Well, I think it's great that you were able to, like, enough to get by from one day of vending. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I was surprised to see how well my stuff was selling. I know for vending is not easy, even though it just looks like you're just sitting out there. There's a lot that goes into it and into inventory and a lot of you selling your personality when you're vending. It's tiring.
What goes into the vending?
First, you need, just to start off, you need to make sure you have a table and a chair and little organizers to put in your things. And if you really want to deck it out, then you got to get some decorations or a table cover or something. And decorations matter so much when you're selling your art, because if you just have a plain table and it's just your art, it's a little bit more difficult for you to sell your stuff. So just starting off with that, then making sure that you have inventory. For me, that meant printing prints, cutting them out, printing stickers, and hand cutting them out.
That was always my most thing, the school projects when I was a kid. I would not do a school project if I did not think that I could do the align trait.
The pressure cutting a sticker. It's real because it's like your own money, especially as an adult, it's your own money.
It's your own money.
You mess up on a sticker, it's like one or two, like it's kind of bound to happen. But if you mess up on a whole sheet of stickers, you're kind of like, I just wasted money. Hand cutting the stickers, and then and heat pressing tote bags, which I didn't have a proper heat presser, which is kind of like when you go to the beach and you want to get a t-shirt made, use that little clamp thing to heat press the design onto the shirt. I had an iron and a
clothes iron.
Yes, a clothes iron, and it would take me like 20 to 30 minutes just to do one tote bag because it's not heavy enough and it's not hot enough to do what I needed to do. So it would just, oh my gosh, it would take forever. Eventually, I got a actual heat presser that cuts it down to 30 seconds, which is night and day from 30 minutes to 30 seconds. Sometimes on a bad day, 2 minutes, but I'll take the bad day any day.
2 minutes for a bad day compared to 30 minutes on a good day?
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have so many. I'm doing at least 12. Like I would do 12 in a session. So
you can do more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. So really, honestly, I can't do the math right now.
Yeah, I don't know how to do math either. It was a lot. It was an all-day process. I always dread making the tote bags. But they're really popular. They're the Men Be Gone.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. I was like, I feel like that's the one that people would probably be like drawn in first. Like, man, especially now, man. See that Men Be Gone, be like, give me a can of spray, give me that tote bag. Like, let's do this. Wait, maybe I shouldn't have said it like that. It's what it is.
If anyone's like really offended by the Men Be Gone, it's like, then you're the problem. I feel like for the most part, I've only had one man that was like, it's not all men. And I'm like, sir, you are not my target audience. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, for the most part, men are like, ha ha ha, and like laugh it off, mainly because they're with their girlfriend. So what are you really going to say?
Yeah.
Evolving, I feel like slowly evolving. And some of them do like it. And then some of them are like, aha, this isn't for me. And they just walk away awkwardly.
Is it at least funny? Like when you see that? At least just entertainment.
Yeah. It's fun. And
awkward interactions are really funny to me. Like, I have so many of them.
It's real.
I'm sorry, I totally cut you off thinking about how awkward I am.
I feel like I am awkward to get to know people because I don't know if I'm like, am I supposed to treat you like a friend? But when I'm vending, I think I kind of got that under control because I already got my little spiel. I already have a sense of what people are drawn to. But if I'm like going to get some coffee at a coffee coffee shop I usually don't go to, and they say a joke. I don't know if it's a joke. And I'm
You
like,
do the little
oh,
chuckle?
okay.
Like the little...
Yeah. That's me. I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Or I don't hear them, and I'm like, ha, ha, ha. And they're like asking again, like, do you want oat milk or almond? I'm like, oh, I thought you made a joke. I don't know. So yeah, getting all that and then setting up your table takes about, if you just have a table, it takes about 30 minutes to get the table and
Wait, so you have to set up the
an
tent too?
hour for me. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Man.
So, yeah, it's a lot that goes into it. And then you usually bend when it's warm out, so you're sweating and you're tired already.
And then you have people.
Yes. And I need help from friends sometimes. Not to mention, I think the most dreadful part is carrying the stuff from your car to your spot. Not even to the venue, but to your spot. Depending on what it is, and they might have like dollies for you, or you might be able to drive close. And some of them you can't. You just have to walk like a good 5 minutes with your stuff, and then drop it there and keep going back and forth, and then you set up, and then you move your car. So it's but Clark Park was easy. Clark Park, I just like scooted my car next to where I was gonna bend, and it was easy. But yeah, so all that goes into account when you're bending, and then you have to be like energetic and interact, because you see people like looking at your stuff, but also keeping in mind that everybody else is also shy and awkward. So they might be like, I don't know if I should say something. So then I'm like, hello, like I have this whole little spiel, but also making sure they don't feel pressured. I'm just trying to like sense that I'm a good presence to be around, and just for them to like just look at my work, you know. I feel like I'm at a place where my work kind of sells itself. So I don't have to like convince somebody to buy. I'm just like, this is what I have. You're more than welcome to look through. And then you bend for about 2 to 4 hours, sometimes 6, sometimes 8 on a really busy bending day. And then you take all your stuff down, count inventory when you get home. I try to bend like at least once a week, at least every other week. So that following week, I have to restock inventory, go back to cutting everything and printing everything and doing the tote bags on top of doing commissions and living my life, like doing laundry. I don't want to like, I'm very grateful that I am at a place where I can work for myself.
That leads me actually into my next question then. What do you wish you knew when you started vending and doing art full time?
Oh my gosh. There's so many things. I don't need everything to start off. Like I thought I needed a printer and these types of organizers. And I was watching a lot of YouTube videos of other artists. And I wish I just kind of like figured it out as I was going, because now I don't use my printer as much. I found somewhere where I can like print the stuff, and it's a lot easier and a lot less time consuming, and the quality is better, and it's around the same price. So like, that's one of the things. I wish I didn't get a printer. I wish I didn't worry so much about getting everything that I needed for everything to be perfect before I first started. Especially when your work is great, even if you don't feel confident in it, but you're getting that like, you know, confirmation for everybody else that they like your work. Like you really just holding on to faith at that point. Another thing, before I became full-time, I wish that I did not just go off of previous achievements and assuming that it was always going to be like that. Once I switched to full-time, I kind of figured out how much I need to make to get all my needs and have a little bit for savings. And I realized, okay, if I bend 2 to 3 times a week, and if I have a commission, and I usually had commissions once a week, then I'm fine. And I don't understand why things are going to start going downhill if my work is selling itself. The Lord decided to test me. God decided to test me. The universe decided to test me. Like, things happened that was out of my control. Like, I had a very scary incident that was almost life-changing, that like put me into really bad mental health space. and sent me back a month. Like for a whole month, I felt like I couldn't be outside and I couldn't vent. That's a whole month that I just lost. So that's a whole month of savings. When I tried getting back into vending, for some reason I just had bad luck. I vended at places that weren't well advertised and nobody showed up. Rained or something like that. It was too cold to vend outside. So like all those factors kind of hit in. And for more context, I started being full time in early October, late September. So it was getting into the colder months. And I'm like, okay, all my stuff is going to sell online. No, for some reason, nobody really wanted to celebrate Christmas this year, like how they did in like 2020. So I wasn't getting that many sales. And I went into a really bad financial situation where I was not able to support myself. And I felt really embarrassed because here I am, I just like announced I'm full time. Like, oh my gosh, congratulations. That's really inspiring. And then I'm sitting here like having to borrow money from friends just to feed my cat or to get gas. Like it was so bad. I was not able to take care of anything and I was behind on bills. It put me in a really dark depression because now I have this pride of that, like, I don't want to ask for help because I thought people were going to think I failed because I thought I failed. But luckily things kind of made its way. Honestly, a miracle happened. With unemployment, there was like back pay that they owed me from months ago and they just magically gave me a check. And I was like, this is literally a miracle because that covered all my like past bills and was able to, it just gave me a restart. And I was so happy about that. And then I was like, okay, don't go into freelance unless you have a proper savings and don't just expect every opportunity to be great like previous ones. Like you should still have expectations and like, you know, still have high hopes that it will go well. Budget worst case scenario, don't budget average or best case scenario. And so I'm at a better place financially where I can kind of like bet on that a little bit more. So that's one thing that I wish I knew before coming full time. Overall, before full time and when I first started, don't limit yourself of your possibilities of what can happen. 2 years ago, I said I want to do a mural in Center City. And now I'm going to do a mural in Center City, which is so crazy. And like, I just didn't think that my work had that amount of value. Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't think it would have that much value for somebody to see my work. I applied with Conrad Brenner. They do the Streets Art Department, which is like this art blog that's locally in Philadelphia. And I applied, didn't think anything of it. And boom, I got it. And now like my work's gonna be like in Center City, like not in the cut where it's hidden, like it's going to be seen, which is crazy. I would have never imagined to actually have that be a reality.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so with the mural that I'm doing, we were told we can do whatever. It's 11 artists that are going to have like a huge section of each part of the wall. Like it's a whole street. Yeah, which is so crazy.
Do you already have what you want to put on the mural?
I'm doing one based off of like queer love and this kind of love story and you watching all of their experiences. Hard to describe and I don't want to give too much away, but the way that I have it is they're watching their past and their future of their experiences and you're also watching it with them. But I'm like really excited because it's coming out really well and it's a lot of details and of course I decided to go above and beyond.
But once it's out there, you know, it's gonna make an impact.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. As a queer person, it would be like nice to just see. And it's not like cheesy love of like them looking each other in the eyes. It's just like everyday mundane things that kind of like adds up and just retells that like showing that queer people are human too. So, I mean, I'm making this for queer people in mind and making it for Black queers in mind and Black lesbians. But it is also to give everybody else a reminder that like it's the same thing that straight people do, queer people do too. It's gonna be on a church building, ironically, which was not intentional. They just put in mind, you're gonna be on a church building. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, mine's just gonna be queer. So it's it's going to be like that. I can change the location, but I think that's going to be even more of a statement.
I think it works. Love is love no matter where you are.
Exactly. And I've been told that the church is queer affirming, so the church itself wouldn't have a problem.
I'm glad that they're queer affirming then, so like that it's like on a welcoming space anyway.
Yeah, and I think also that what I've been told is like in the worst case scenario, knock on wood, if somebody decides to like deface it, they'll just print it again and just hit it over. I feel like if I never do murals again, I'm really glad that I'm able to like say I did a mural this size.
That's exciting.
The visual art community has been really healing and really supportive, at least through my experience in Philly. And so I always get excited when I meet another person who's an artist, no matter where they are in their career, and like building that connection, because you'll be surprised of like the work you'll be inspired by, and also the opportunities that you get. Like all the opportunities that I've mentioned is through connections. Even though I applied for the mural to do a mural in Center City, that was because an artist sent me that and was like, hey, I think this will be good for you. Like that's how. Like I would have never found that out if it wasn't through that person.
That's a great example to me of the power of community. And speaking of community, can you talk about what the word community means to you?
There's an overall arching definition in my mind, but I also want to acknowledge that community is a spectrum. Like it can range from having a community that's online, from having a community that's your neighborhood, to having like a small community of like people who you care for and they take care of you. But I think overall, a community is a space where definitely supporting each other and being able to provide for one another. To even go even further is acknowledging people's differences and being able to advocate for different identities. I think there's like this thing of like this romantic version of community of like everybody's going to be in a space and everybody's just going to get along because we're all helping each other. It is very important to acknowledge and to be well informed and to know how to advocate for different identities, because you end up doing more harm than good in that community. Even though your intentions might be great, we just have to come to a place of knowing that you don't know everything and knowing that harm can be caused, and what work can you do yourself to not expecting your friends or people in your community to call you out for it. Knowing how to like be like, oh, that was probably something I shouldn't have said, whether I meant it or not. And how can I fix that? How can I change that? And how can I heal that harm that I've done? I think that's my version of like healthy community. And community is a new introduction for me as an adult. I didn't really care much about community until I went to college, and the word community felt really foreign to me. And now being an adult and being able to find it for myself and to actually make a community, it feels so rewarding. And I wish I had that before.
Like, how did you kind of learn about it when you were in college?
Goucher College. At like less than 1,500. I think when I first started going to school there, it was like 1,200.
For like the entire student body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a very small school. Yeah, it was a liberal arts school. The environment itself, you knew everybody, just about everybody. And people knew you. So that was his own community. And there was kind of like this set culture, making sure that marginalized identities were at the forefront. So being able to see that spectrum of like Goucher, the college itself, its own community. And then you have like different clubs or different majors, and you have your friends. So it's like different levels of community. And of course they had their own faults, but that was the first time I experienced it. And I remember people kept using the word and would like invite me to different clubs and stuff. And it made me uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know anybody in this group, and you want me to trust them? I was like, I don't like it. And it feels forced, and I wasn't really into it. And the way that I really learned how to love community was to learn how to love my friends and having that community itself. And then I was like, okay, I kind of would like to find like little pockets or larger pockets of community outside of my friends. That's why I was like bringing up that it is a spectrum. Yeah, and then once I got out of college, I realized how much I missed like a larger community. And just being around a lot of like-minded people and a lot of queer people. And I moved to West Philly in late May 2020. I was like dying and looking for like people who are like me and looking for friends. And I didn't know how much it increased the quality of my life to have these like beautiful platonic relationships with people, whether I'm close to them or not, just like knowing that I almost had safety nets or supporters and supporting them. Like it's a two-way street. And genuinely wanting to. It blew my mind, this whole community thing that people want to care for you if they don't know you, or they're just being nice just to be nice. Like that was weird to me. I was like, what do you want? So yeah, I definitely advocate largely on everybody finding their healthy community, no matter what that looks like. Like your community, I have like my art community that I have like on Instagram that other people, not even my friends, might not know, but I know that I'm supporting them and vice versa, or on Twitter, or just like in the art world, I know other artists. I'll try to go to their show, or when I see them, I always try to make small talk or like have a genuine conversation. Like that's its own community. Like I'm not close to them. I probably don't remember all of their names, but I know their face and I know their artwork. And that's its own community. And then the neighborhood that I live in, it's very queer and friendly, and knowing that like there's like some group chats that I can get on Facebook and ask for help or help other people if needed. It's just something I've never experienced to this extent before in my life that I forever want to hold on to. Yeah, for like the rest of my days.
When you're not used to having a community or group of people where you're like mutually supporting each other, is very isolating. Community is able to like show you that you're not alone and that there are other people like you in whatever capacity it is that that community is acting in.
Yeah, definitely. And like just getting over the hurdle of asking for help doesn't necessarily mean I'm being a burdensome. I think there is a line at some point where you should be conscious of like how much you are putting onto someone. But I'm talking from the perspective of just asking for small help. Like, let's say I'm moving a big package and somebody walks by and is like, do you want some help? And I'm like, I shouldn't accept this help because I'm going to bother their day, or they're just doing it to be nice. They don't really want to help. And just getting to a point of like, yeah, I mean, you're struggling. It's hard to move this box. If you need help with it, then accept the help. So it's definitely a culture shock that took me years to get used to. But it's also something I wouldn't crave or went into if I didn't experience it this way. Yeah, I think I was still, if I didn't have that introduction that I had going to Goucher, I wouldn't be very into wanting to be part of the community out there. That's fine. I'll just do me.
So we talked about like with the art and in college. Is there any other communities that you would want to talk about?
There's definitely like different levels of the queer community. And
okay, yeah, go for it.
Black communities as well. And then there's like that beautiful intersection of Black queer community that's like meshes both of my worlds. I think it's nice to be able to have inside jokes that you've never spoke about with like another person that shares your identity, that you can both joke about, but like outside of that identity, people might not understand. And those are like nice bonding moments of like, I felt like I've known you for a long time. And I think those are more for like personal healing or just enjoyment of being in there. And I don't want to like also paint that the queer community is like everybody gets along. Like there are gay people and trans people. I mean, gay people and lesbians who are transphobic. And there are some queer people who don't believe that non-binary people exist and all these other things. So I don't want to paint the umbrella that like we all get along in this actual community, but within it, you can find your little nets of people that you can get along with. And then also with like Blackness as well, meeting other Black people and just having that shared experience or that like we're both thinking on the same thing. Those are nice. Even if you're somebody you don't know, if something like out of pocket happened and you're both in public and you look at the other Black person, like you notice that, right? And it's nice to have that. So those are, I think also community has its own lifespans. Community has its own lifespan. Sometimes they only last for a second. Sometimes they last a lifetime. Sometimes they only last for a season. And all of them add like value and have value to your life. Even online communities, just kind of finding that commonality. It is, I don't know how I went this long without having this much or having this value towards community for most of my life. And I get it. I was like a kid and I don't have much autonomy. And also I'm a kid and I'm not worried about community. I'm probably worried about making friends and that is community, but like not to the intention, like not with this intent that I have now. But the more that you keep in mind when it comes to disabilities and race and gender identity and sexuality, all those things have to be in mind when you're creating a community. Yeah. Eat your vegetables.
Eat your vegetables. Thank you. I will.
It's important.
And so for our last segment, what advice do you have for someone who is aspiring to build a career as an artist?
Don't allow setbacks or mishaps to be your defining moment or to define your entire career, whether past or future. Where people are really resilient and you tend to bounce back from hardship. And it's really easy to let yourself just sink into this idea that whatever that mishap or feel like this is how it's going to be, I should have never took this risk, or I should have listened to X, Y, and Z. Like, we don't have all the answers until after it happens. Like, hindsight being 2020, there are always tools or some possibility to have your dream come true or to be able to have a fulfilling, whatever that means to you, to have a fulfilling life in the arts or career in the arts. There are times that even now I'm debating like get a regular everyday job so I don't have to worry, because there's still like instability in being a freelance artist, being a full-time artist. I think what's kind of keeping me going is that all the other setbacks and all the other things I have bounced back from, whether it's related to my career or not. And those are my reminders, along with having support from my friends to keep going and find creative ways to make your career your own. That's a huge one of you don't have to go a certain route. If there's a certain way you want to like market your art, that's, get creative, be a little bit different. We're already creatives anyway, so you don't have to I guess go the traditional route of like trying to get your art in the art museum. Yeah, get creative with like how you make it until you make it. Give yourself time. If somebody told me that it would take 2 years for me to be at a place where I am just okay full time, like just okay making it and like financially supporting myself, I would have been like, 2 years? Why'd I have to wait 2 years? I wanted like 6 months or something. But time goes by a lot faster, and with all the things and changes that happen within yourself and your work and your career, it just becomes a lot easier, and you just don't realize how fast it's going. Like, don't worry about like hearing it takes 3 or 5 years to be, financially thriving or something like that. You kind of get swindled away with all the small things that happen in your life. And then you don't realize, and then boom, it's 2 years. And then now you don't have to stress too much about paying rent. But it is still stress, but it's not like you're behind on rent or can't afford food or stuff like that. But yeah, don't worry about the timeline as much.
Thank you. And for my last question here, what do you do to motivate yourself to keep that discipline when you are feeling unmotivated and you are having all those setbacks?
Great. I did this. This works for dance and for visual art. I love watching people's blogs on YouTube of like a day in a life as an artist or a day in a life as a dancer, or just like watching them do vlogs of just them drawing or telling a story. I get really inspired by seeing or experiencing art. So whether that might look like for some other people to go to a museum or go to an art show, like those just like, it feels like it has an inevitable effect of inspiring people in that space. And it's really hard not to be able to keep going, but to stay every day motivated and to like wake up and discipline yourself when you don't feel like it. Trying to find inspiration, trying manipulating your environment to feel inspired. Whether that means like, you told yourself you're gonna wake up and start doing work in the morning, but waking up is like a drag. Make waking up fun, more fun. So for me, it's like I love waking up and walking to a coffee shop and doing my work there. That's like a fun routine for me. I like being in a coffee shop. Walking gives me energy, and just getting to a point where like you're doing it and then you feel the motivation. Just start a little bit. Don't like wait to the feeling, because sometimes your feelings might trick you a little bit. You just will never feel like doing it. Just slowly trick yourself into it. Even if that means just putting your feet on the floor when you get out of bed and just sitting there instead of just like lying there, which I do that all the time. It's very easy to get into the phone traffic.
A doom scroll. And also, just like sitting up when you're in bed, it's just like completely changes your perspective. You go from like sleeping, you're like, I guess I'm conscious now.
Yeah. That's like your needs start to like hit a little bit.
They're like, hello, human, we are here.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Like I already dance, so I like moving my body. So doing something that's physically moving my body, whether that's like going to the gym or taking a dance class or taking a fitness class, like around like 1:30 to 3 is the time I want to take a nap. And some days I do deserve to take a nap, but getting past that midday tiredness, you always feel better afterwards. Or at least in my case, I always feel like it doesn't feel like a mistake that I stayed up to do more work than to take a nap. So I guess finding motivation in that with like physically moving your body or changing spaces or working somewhere else if you work from home. Something stimulating, I should say. And you do something stimulating during that time.
Do you have any music, any artist that you listen to when you need to motivate yourself?
Play tribute to my new favorite artist called Sipho. It's like Sipho with a dot. And the latest album, it's called She Might Bleed. And Charisma. Charisma is the song that I'm thinking.
Charisma?
Charisma is one of my favorite songs. The other one is called Beady Eyes. I love, he has a very different voice. UK, love his music. I listen to his music pretty often.
Yeah. I feel like I can like feel my whole spectrum of emotions when I'm listening to music.
Yes.
Like it's like a space where you're allowed to like just like feel what it is that the song brings up.
Yep. That's how I pick my music for the day.
Since you dance so much, do you have like a favorite style or?
Oh my gosh, yes. I love choreographing. My favorite style of dance is contemporary, and I still wanted to choreograph. And I'm trying to like make that a new project for the upcoming year. But I love contemporary. I love different styles of hip hop as well. But contemporary just is the one where I feel like my emotions and improving contemporary movement is my jam. That is my specialty. I feel very free and I love that style. Iconically, I don't take a lot of contemporary classes. I always take something else. But that's my favorite.
I guess if it's the thing that you like doing the most, it's what you're already good at. So it's good to learn other things.
This is true. Thanks for saying that. Now I feel less guilty.
Hey, if contemporary is the one that you love the most, it's probably the one that you do the most without even thinking about it.
That's true. That is true. If I'm like even listening to music and I'm like daydreaming a dance, like nobody's going around like mimicking ballet movements in there every day. Nobody's doing that. Everybody's doing interpretive dance somehow.
She was feeling the music in her head, okay?
Yes.
All right, that song that's been stuck in her head all day, that's what she was feeling.
Exactly.
And so, before we head out, do you have any parting words for the listeners?
Utilize your resources, utilize your community, ask for help, even if you feel like you don't need it. Don't let your setbacks define who you are, even though it's easier said than done. And eat your vegetables.
Eat those vegetables. Thank you so much for being on the show with me today. It's been wonderful, lots of laughs and learning today. For our listeners, how do they get in contact with you or follow you?
Don't. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, and Patreon. Jaz Make Studios is just one Z, so JAZ makes like you're making something with an S and in studios. For the most part, you're gonna find me. I don't think there's a second one out there. I don't have any catfishes. I'm not there yet.
I'm not there yet. Because it's who she is and how she's showing up. It is what it is.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful.
Thank you for joining me, Jaz. And thank you, listener, for joining me for this episode of the Andy Special. You can follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Learn more about the podcast at theandyspecial.com or follow on socials at The Andy Special. Join me next week as I talk with Andy Shlon for the finale episode for this first season. We talk about growing up in a family business, the outpouring of support from USC and the area community after Mr. Andy passed, and how times are changing. Until next time, my friend.